Thank you for spending another midweek moment with WPT. Before we get started, a word from our sponsor.
This is Ramsey from Security Plus, LLC, the best employee benefits broker. We have been reducing costs on benefits for employers across the U.S. since 1988. We have better benefits for less money. We will shop over 200 carriers and over 600 plan designs to find the best deal for you. We want to put that money back in your pocket. So be on the lookout for a phone call from us because we will be reaching out very soon.
Hello and welcome back. I'm Paul Rozeski. Today is the 20th of March, 2024. This may be the coldest day we've had in over a month. The irony is that today is the first day of spring when we should be going in the opposite direction of getting colder. Funny enough, today is also supposedly National Kiss Your Fiancé Day. Chances are if you're engaged, you probably didn't need a reminder to kiss your fiancé. Regularly doing that is what got you in this situation in the first place. Instead of going down that rabbit hole, let's jump into some news together. First off, we look at a few bills that have been signed into law as of this morning, including two bills to expand electric vehicle charging stations in Wisconsin. Up until now, utilities were really the only ones that are able to sell energy by the kilowatt hour. Since Bill 791 is now Act 121, it will allow businesses to more easily install high-capacity charging stations and sell the energy without incurring the end user fees and taxes because they will not be the end user of that power. One of the new laws will also unlock some federal funding over the next 5 years. To make that happen for businesses, WSDOT is going to be the ones to dole out those dollars to businesses, and it's expected that they'll primarily use the funds to support businesses that want to offer EV charging stations near Wisconsin's major highways. This overall is both good news and bad news, although there's a lot to like about this. Expanding the infrastructure of electric vehicles and hybrids, not a bad thing since their range has massively improved and they are become more widely used. Infrastructure for readily available energy is not a bad thing. More availability for our transportation options, not to be reliant on one primary energy source, not a bad thing. And at the moment, electricity is readily available, which is not a bad thing, but it may change if we keep making bad PR-fueled political cronyism choices with federal funding over our sources of power generation. But I digress from my theme, which is not a good thing. And really, our federal government continuing to dole out money when the federal deficit is ballooning like crazy doesn't feel like a good thing. What's lost in this, and where I will focus, is what the future of Wisconsin will look like. And I'm calling it right now. I expect Quick to jump on this early with EV chargers, which is not a bad thing, but I'm not looking forward to it. Many a time have their parking lots been a busy, hot mess with few available parking spots and people going every direction, which is not a good thing. And this will just add to it, which adds more not good to a not good thing. But this is overall a step in the right direction, which overall then means it's not a bad thing. This is what most of us hope for from our government, taking action to make things better. There are never bills that completely fix things, but instead they make progress on improving outcomes. So simple, yet so hard to accomplish when there are too many cooks in the kitchen, and too many cooks in the kitchen is not a good thing. In other news, early voting in Wisconsin started yesterday, Tuesday, March the 19th, which is one of the options you will have to vote in case the Tuesday of voting day poses problems for you. Let me give you a quick summary of what your options are for voting. Luckily, myvote.wi.gov is a good resource for you to get more details on what I'm going to gloss over. In no particular order, One option is to vote early in your municipal clerk's office. Voters can request and vote an absentee ballot in person in their municipal clerk's office beginning 2 weeks before Election Day, hence yesterday. Office hours and availability vary by municipality. Good example is that in some areas it is available through the Sunday prior to the election, and some it isn't. So check with your municipal clerk to make sure, and My Vote will help you track down the info of where they're at and how to get a hold of them to ask. Another option is to receive your ballot by mail. According to My Vote, if you are a regular voter who'd like to vote in the 2024 spring election and presidential preference primary, what they call preference vote, make sure to submit your request for an absentee ballot by March 28, 2024. Point number one is that it says regular voter, which means that your identity and eligibility to vote has already been verified. Point number two is that your request must happen by Thursday, March 28th. If it were me, I wouldn't wait until then, especially to get my ballot by mail, just in case the mail's delayed or something else becomes a stumbling block. Do it sooner rather than later so unintended consequences don't delay or make it so you can't vote. Here's a good example. There was one time I requested an absentee ballot. I filled it out, had my witness fill in the needed info on my envelope, and it was getting closer to voting day, and since I was going to be going past the building that held the clerk's office, I figured I could simply stop in and submit it in person instead of sending it via the mail. I thought that would help prevent something unexpected from happening and have a chain of custody in the process. However, just so happens that the office wouldn't accept it. It was too close to the polling day for them to be sure that the ballot would be at the polling place to be counted on that day at that place. So be sure that you can follow through with your plans and double check that your intended plan will work. Another option is to go to your polling place on Election Day, where you will state your full name and address, show your photo ID, and sign the poll book and take part in an election process. That is one of the many things that are basic freedoms that we sometimes take for granted. I was reminded of that as I saw a political, what would think is a sham of an election of an oligarch that holds his power through making his opponents disappear. Another rabbit hole we don't have to go down. But if you really sit and contemplate what we have, how much we take life for granted, our liberties for granted, and how freely we can pursue happiness, and how that can be shaped on if we vote and how we vote. So please do just that. Please vote. In closing, a quick reminder that there are two proposed Wisconsin constitutional amendments on this ballot in a couple weeks. Also, and a really good breakdown of what they mean was in the WPT Weekly Insider member newsletter on Monday that was emailed out. Be sure to go back and check it out if you missed it. With that, I will leave you with two quotes from John Adams that give a peek into his understanding in the pursuit of happiness. In 1776, he wrote that just as, quote, happiness of the individual is the end of man, so, quote, the happiness of society is the end of government, unquote. And a great interpretation of that and the ideals of America come from a comment from the website, the Pursuit of Happiness Project, which I chose to believe is the noble cause for our great experiment of America. To this end, happiness is a fight for people, not against things. Have a great second half of your weekend. As always, thanks for listening. Wisconsin Property Taxpayers, Inc. is a nonpartisan membership organization consisting of thousands of small business, farm, and homeowner members in every chilly corner of the state. Founded in 1985, the organization is committed to providing its members with up-to-date information, legislative advocacy, and exclusive cost-saving benefits. Find out how to join at WPTOnline.org/join.